Hi, I'm Maggie and welcome to Mrs. Calabash Cooks. Come into my kitchen. It's a really drizzle day outside, but it's rainy and it's cold, but it's beautifully warm in here. And today we're going to do chicken breast cooked in beer and mashed potatoes with cabbage. And this is based on Irish recipes. I lived in Ireland for 6 years and I love the food, love the people, great memories. So just let me wash my hands quickly. There we go. And I've already done some prep. The recipe asks for chicken breast, but I don't know if it's my age, but I'm rather put off at the moment with a big chunk of chicken. So I sliced the chicken breasts thinly and then did them like that. And I've got my recipe here. You can see I ticked off everything as I've done my prep. So we need the flour, paprika, which adds a nice flavour, and I've got salt and pepper in here for seasoning. Just mix it all round well. And now we need to put the chicken in there. There's only one way to do it, I find, and that is actually do it by hand. If you can't bear the feel of the chicken, then just use some gloves. Only I find it much easier to make sure that the chicken is coated. Like that. There we are. The chicken's nicely coated. Now I did use double the amount of flour and salt and pepper and paprika because I've got more pieces of chicken. If you're just using chicken breasts, then follow the recipe. But I've made a lot more chicken. And this is, I mean, we had a big family, and so cooking chicken this way, it did expand it, and it wasn't quite so expensive with the boys and their appetite. So wash your hands again. I've already, when I use the board for the chicken and the knife, I put it in the microwave and sterilised. So that has been nicely done. And we've got mushrooms, thyme. Today I'm using dried thyme and a bay leaf. I put one of my thyme plants out last night, looked in the garage and I thought, I don't know. I don't know if it survived the winter. Put it out, the nice soft rain today, and it's all green. So I could have actually used some fresh thyme. So I'm just going to take these over here, like this. There we are. The recipe, follow your recipe. I always take it with me. I'm very good at missing out steps. It's probably called old age. But the recipe calls for onions that are fried. I did just fry the bacon beforehand, and I've cooked the onions in the bacon fat. Now, to saute the onions, I like to cook them nice and slowly so they don't get crispy. And as you cook them, the heat brings out the sweetness in the onions. So we're going to add the chicken to the pan, like that. There we are. Turn up the heat. We just want to brown the chicken. So just turn it over like that. You can probably hear the dogs in the background. They're shut in a room, and Cokie, the little dog, objects. and he sets the other dogs off. So please just ignore them. There we are. Like that. I'm going to add just a little drop of oil to this. It's a little bit dry. This is grapeseed oil that I'm using. I can get this to a higher temperature than using an olive oil. There we are. Put this on high, like that. Now, when this is just browned a little bit more, I'm going to add the mushrooms, the thyme, and the bay leaf. And today we're going to be cooking this in beer. Excuse me. And this is the beer that we're using. And it's a local brewery. It's Perth. And this is a microbrewery. And I'm using, it's an oyster stout. So this is absolutely gorgeous with the chicken. And it said, I'll read you, just enough briny hints from fresh oysters mingled with roasted chocolate. Notes to make the stout brewed. So this, as I say, is local, and it's Perth Brewery. It's about 30 minutes away from here. That's getting nicely brown. So you see, there's quite a lot of chicken in here. This will serve 6 people easily. There, I think that's browned enough. So let's see what we do now. Mix the salt and pepper. Now I'm going to put the mushrooms in. These were just white mushrooms, but you can use a mixture of mushrooms. I like to use, sometimes you can buy packets of mushrooms with different mushrooms in, and they're called chef's mixture, and I like to use those, and then you get the different flavours. So we're going to put the mushrooms in like that, the bay leaf, the thyme. Now if you're using fresh thyme, double the amount of thyme. I've got half a teaspoonful of thyme here, but if I was using fresh, it would be a teaspoon. You always use double the amount of fresh to dried with herbs. Now I just want to make sure that it's 350 mils of liquid. Yes. So 350 mils. Look at the colour. Oh yeah. Let's see if I can pour it down the side. There we are. I'm going to pour that on. Like that. Now the alcohol in the beer will dissipate whilst it's cooking, and we're going to let that cook. I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit. We're going to let that cook so that the chicken is cooked through. I'm not going to add any more seasoning at this stage. Now I had a little more flour on the chicken, so that's going to take it away from the, I'm going to just add a drop more beer to that, like that. Now I have a little beer left over, and in the recipe you'll see that you need, I think it's 2 tablespoons full of water. Well, I'm not going to bother with the water. I'm going to use the beer, and that is to let down the cornstarch. And the cornstarch, this is used to thicken the gravy or the sauce. So I did weigh a little more cornstarch just in case it wasn't quite thick enough. It just depends, a lot of it depends how quickly the chicken cooks, how much evaporation you get with the beer. So let's just turn that down like that. It won't take the chicken long to cook because it was cooked quite thinly. But you see, I've got some beer left. Let's not waste it. And this is called letting down the cornstarch. And you'll see why I'm doing that in a minute. This stops you getting lumps in the cornstarch when you put it into the pan. I'm going to have a little taste of this, if you don't mind. Ah, you can see, there we are. It smells delicious. That is a good stout. Coming from the north of England, I appreciate a good stout. We brewed a lot of it where I come from. That's good. It's got a nice, rich flavour and there's just a little bit of bite to it. Very good. So back to the stove. I'm going to move that over onto that side. Like that to be cooking. Let's move that out of the way. And now, there we are. Let's turn this one off. For the potatoes and cabbage, I mean, you're probably going, ugh, I don't really fancy potatoes with cabbage in. But these are delicious, and these are white, yellow flesh potatoes, and I've just cooked them beforehand. And we actually want to drain the potatoes like that. So we're going to drain the potatoes, and we're going to use this water again for the cabbage. Like that. We want to bring that up to the boil. When you're cooking potatoes, always put them into cold water with a little salt and bring them up to the boil. I'm going to keep those warm. The oven is on at 250 just to keep them warm. So let's turn up the heat. So that's already salted. That water is already salted. I've got cabbage, shredded cabbage. This is shredded by hand. I just cut it like that and shred it. I find if I put it through a food processor, it gets too fine, and I don't like it. So this is coming up to the boil. Now we want to cook the cabbage until it's just crisp. It doesn't want to be soggy, so it wants to cook very quickly. So green vegetables, you have the water boiling, seasoned, and then cook. But potatoes, cold water, seasoned, and then bring up to the boil and boil gently. So this is a very quick meal to get together. You see, I might not need a lot of the cornstarch in this because the flour is acting as a thickening agent, and that looks as though it is almost cooked. You don't want to overcook the chicken because it dries out, but let's choose a nice piece of chicken. You see, it's cooked through like that. So the chicken is actually cooked, and that was the thickest piece of chicken in the pan. So you can see how quickly it is to get this dish on the table. I'm not actually going to need that that cornstarch today, so we'll just get rid of that. We don't need that. Let's just check the cabbage. Yes, that's just a few minutes more, and I'm just going to add just a little more salt to it at this stage, and then we can season later. Let's turn that off, and we're just going to drain this cabbage. Like that. Let's bring it back over here. We don't need that dirty basin. There we are. We've got the potatoes, the cabbage. Let me just turn that down, really down to low. I don't want it to cook an awful lot more, and we'll season that in a few minutes. We'll see about the seasoning. Keep stirring like that. There we are. And that's beautifully coated. There we are. Now we want to, oh, I've forgotten. You see, that's when I say check your recipe. I'd already cooked the bacon, so it's nicely fried, and we want to put the bacon in there with the chicken. Now, when I cook the bacon, I always put it on a piece of kitchen paper just to drain any fat. There we are, so that's ready. Okay, salt and pepper. We're going to need salt and pepper. There we are. We've got the cabbage. So we're going to mash the potatoes, and I've got some chopped onion to put into the mashed potatoes. A little milk. Again, it's just approximate, the amount of milk that you're going to be using. It depends on the potatoes. I mean, it says 6 medium potatoes. What I call a medium potato, somebody might call a small potato. So that is the parsley to go on the top like that before I forget it. So we're going to add a little butter, some milk, and some salt and pepper. In Ireland it would be some nice Irish butter, creamy milk. There we are. And we want to take these down until they're no longer without any lumps in. You can use an electric mixer to do this. Just a hand mixer, and it makes a nice creamy potato. I don't think I'm going to need any more milk in there. And I'm going to finish them off by, that looks pretty good. I've got a wooden spoon here, and it's an idea just to beat your potatoes with a wooden spoon, like that. Now we're going to add the cabbage to that. Just stir in the cabbage, and we've got green onions. This is 6 green onions. The whole of the green onion I'm using with this. This is a really good dish to make for Paddy's Day. I've lost a little bit. Now we have to taste, because it might not be seasoned enough. I suspect it won't be seasoned enough, actually. This is sea salt, which I keep in a container, and my black pepper. Again, let's just test it. Yes, that's better. You can taste, just taste the salt and the pepper. Now I've got a casserole here, which I'm going to use as a serving dish, and whilst I finish off the chicken, we're going to put it in the oven just to keep warm. Pull it down like that. Just push it down to the edges. And to make it look pretty, take a fork and just push it down into the corners like that, and then just pull it up with a fork like that, like that. Now you could put a knob of butter on the top and just brown it in under the grill, under the broiler. But what I'm going to do is, this is all washed. I'm just going to put a little parsley in like that before serving. I'm going to take that out now because that will just frizzle in the oven. We'll put the top on whilst we've got it in the oven. So the oven is on at 250 just to keep things nicely warm. Clean your working surface like that. Now let's taste the chicken. We'll switch this on to bring it over here. I suspect this is going to need a little bit more seasoning. Now, somewhere in there, I saw the bay leaf. It's always advisable to take the bay leaf out if you can find it. Let's have a look. Oh. We'll probably come across it when I'm dishing up, because I can't. Ah, no, 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 not in there. So let's just taste this. It needs a little more salt and pepper. And you know what? I find it a little bit strong at the moment, so I'm going to add a drop of double cream to that. Let's just add a drop of cream. Look at that. That's a much better consistency. Going to add a drop more. There we are. Now we'll taste that again. It's just got a hint of pepper in there with the paprika. Yes, that's added a nice softness to it. So you see, the recipes, they're not written in stone. If there's something in there that you don't like, leave it out. If there's something that you want to add, then just add a little bit to it. You're the one that's eating it, no one else. Or maybe your guest, but you're the main one. So let's put the cream away. I have a plate, a dish waiting. You see, that looks nice. We don't need that anymore. Again, an oven-proof dish. And the nice thing is that you can put it in the oven. You can prepare this before your guests arrive, put it in the oven, keep it warm, and then just serve when everybody arrives. I need a spatula, one of these. I'm going to have to just turn that away from you for a minute, otherwise I'm going to miss the dish. Ah, there's the bay leaf. Look, found it was clinging to the bottom, so we don't serve up the bay leaf. Just push that into the corners, clean up the dish. We don't need those anymore. You notice I always put a piece of kitchen paper on the table so that I can put my dirty bits and pieces on it. It's either that or a plate. I always have something that I can put my dirty utensils on. There we are. We just need to clean that like that. And again, we're just going to put a little parsley, ready for serving. It will be nice to have fresh parsley in the garden. We found a garden centre here yesterday, and they got all the nice herbs in and everything, and I can't wait. I did actually buy a plant and dug up a piece of garden just to put in some flowers. So we do have one little bit of flower showing. There we are, and that's ready for serving. switch the oven off. The potatoes are nice and hot. Close the oven. There we are. Put the parsley in. Remove all this. And we'll just put some on a plate. See what it looks like. So I've got a blue gold plate to match my casserole, and we need a serving spoon, which I've just taken away. So you see, this will easily serve 6 people. There we are. And the potatoes with the cabbage already in there. Now, you could serve some green peas with this. A little corn would be nice. Some corn, some sweet corn, and that would give you another colour on the plate. But there you are. Please enjoy. And that is my Irish cheese, my Irish chicken in beer and mashed potatoes with cabbage and chopped onions. So thank you again for coming to Mrs. Calabash Cooks, and I will see you again next week. Bye.